Okay, so we're ready to move on. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing the nacelles. And you remember, we had done the nacelle pylons. And these are going to go up through here, just like that. And we had wired these before we had glued white together. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to prime the coolers. And the other thing we need to paint is the way the nacelles are going to be made on this model. So we have they actually fell off. These are the ones that they're different. We're not going to use these with the antennas, but you can see how they're going to go in behind the Bussard Collectors, just like that. Well, what we got to do is, let me show you guys specifically what I got for them. I've got the Tamiya, the clear orange, and this is TS-73. So what I want to do is I'm going to paint the outer part of the Bussard Collector. This is going to be clear orange. And what we're going to do with the inner part is I'm going to do a quick dusting with the clear yellow, and that will be the PS42 on the inner part. And beneath everything, we're going to have a bulb, an LED flickering bulb. So we're going to see how that looks. So I think the first thing we need to do is, where is it? Here it is. We got the primer, and we need to go over to the paint booth. So the first thing I want to do is, I'm going to need some more tape. We're going to actually tape the Bussard Collectors on. So let's do that right now. There. We just need it to stay on while we do the orange painting. Okay, so that looks good. And like I said, we're going to put, while we have it, we'll do the impulse deck as well. The impulse engines. We'll just prime everything. The base, the end caps. So we'll prime that. We'll prime the coolers, and we'll paint the orange onto the Bussard Collectors. So let's go over to the paint. We might have to put 2 layers on this. You see? Yeah, more than likely we'll put 2 layers, but that's okay. So let's put this aside to dry. Okay, so when it comes to all the parts, they had some time to dry. I'm talking about the primer, as well as the cooling grills, or the cooling fins, and the impulse deck. So I was thinking about the different color schemes that we're going to do for her. And let me see. All of All of the Constitution class starships, the deflector dishes are copper. Here it is. So we got the deflector dish housing, and here is the deflector dish. See, they're copper. So this is the U.S.S. Nimoy. I want it to be different. Actually, let me get the nacelle pylons out, as well as the nacelles. The Bussard Collectors are still, I just spritzed them again with the orange paint. So I don't want to overdo it on those. So I was thinking, put this aside for now. We have the copper, and the copper looks good for the deflector dish and a deflector dish housing. Actually, I think I could take it off this now. So let me show you. The deflector dish is going to go on like this. So that looks pretty cool, right? So I'm thinking, well, this is the U.S.S. Nimoy, and I want it to be special. So I'm thinking, well, if we do the cooler fins in a copper, that would be a nice contrast because she's a special ship. And then I was thinking, well, this is a tribute. This is a memorial ship for Leonard Nimoy. So I'm thinking, instead of the copper, I'm thinking I want to do it in gold. So I'm thinking if we actually do, we're going to paint the cooler fins for the nacelles gold, and we're going to see how that looks. If it looks good, we'll do the deflector dish. I think that would look really good in gold as well. So why don't we go ahead and we're going to start painting also the end caps on the nacelles, because I have a little idea that we're going to do with these, but I can't do it until the paint's dry. So actually we can go ahead now. We can take these off. The tree, these are the ones that we're going to be using. When it comes to the shuttle bay doors, I still have to put the white. So we're going to put those back into the paint booth for now. Put the nacelles to the side. And let's see, we can use this paintbrush, and we're going to do the pieces in gold. Gold is beautiful and special, and I want this ship to be beautiful and special. Alright, so let's see how this is going to look. So what I want to do, you can see the piece from the parts tree. We've got to clean that up a bit. That's good, just like that. We'll do the same thing for the other one. Okay, so when it comes to the cooler fins, I think it might look pretty wild gold. So why don't we go ahead, and we're going to do one first, and again we primed it, so everything is primed. So let's do this one. We still might have to do more than one coat, we'll see. But I don't want it all sparkly and brand new looking, because she does go through space. So if we keep the gold translucent, well, we can actually see the gray through the bottom, kind of like what we did for the finish coat. That would be ideal for what I want. See, this looks really nice. And let me show you the contrast, where the gold is going to be on with the paint that we have. I'm thinking that looks pretty good. And let's do the next one. Again, we might put a couple of coats if we have to. We have to, because this is the this paint is a little bit thin because it's for the airbrush, and it's thinned down a little bit. So I just want to coat everything. Again, I want it to be special for Mr. Nimoy. Hopefully you guys can see. That's looking very nice. So let's do the other side. Again, we have it. I want it where the gray is showing through subtly through the bottom. Again, just like we did for the finish coat. Let's see how the deflector dish will look later. Let's see now. I want to do the impulse deck. There. Against the contrast, I think that's going to look really nice. Again, if I need to put 2 coats, we'll put 2 coats, but for now, we're going to let this dry. Alright. I'm going to put it by the paint booth to let it dry. So, what I want to try doing now is I want to see how the deflector dish will look gold. Okay, so giving a little bit of an update. What we did was everything had some time to dry, and we ended up going with the gold for the coolers. I think it would look really good. This is a memorial ship, so we're gonna memorialize Leonard Nimoy with the U.S.S. Nimoy. So the nacelles had time to dry. We have the end caps that also had time to dry, and we put them gold. Let's see, what else? The Bussard Collectors. What I did was I put the liquid latex to cover the orange section, and then what I did was I show you exactly what I used. We used some Tamiya surface primer, and that was the gray. Then we went ahead and we used the pearl white. And of course, we had already painted the Bussard Collectors with the clear orange. So now, we're actually ready to start assembling the nacelles. So when it comes to the instructions, you can see the studio, the pilots. I'm thinking, because we're not going to be doing the antenna coming out of the Bussard Collectors, because I had wanted to light them. So we're going to be putting a light in the Bussard Collector. We have those pieces right here. We're going to be doing the end caps, but we're not going to be using the production series. I do like the production series coolers though. So I think we're going to use the production series coolers, and we're going to use the pilot version for the end caps. So we're going to go ahead and do that. But before we think about putting our coolers on, so we're going to put those to the side for now. We got to go ahead and think about starting to actually, we're going to glue the nacelles onto the nacelle pylons. And incidentally, there are a couple of pieces. See, this is going to be gold. We'll put that gold. I was going to put the Chiller Grill gold, but I don't know if that'll be too much or not. We'll see as we go along. But I'm going to go ahead and we're going to touch up the colors, and we're going to do that after it's assembled. So what I'm thinking of doing, so this is going to be, we're going to take this apart. This is going to be for the port side. So first of all, we got to determine how this is going to go in so we get the areas correct. Okay. And this is going to go on here like that. And we are going to glue that, but I just want to make sure that it's going to be in position. We might need a little bit of putty. Okay, so we're going to do the other side now. And as you can see, that's not very yeah, we're going to make it straight. Yeah, the way they look right now, they do not look straight. All right. So I think we're going to have to, we'll glue it, and then we're going to have to put some putty to kind of close out all the gaps. But we got to make sure that that they're going to be facing each other. Let's see if we can line it up, and we'll get it to glue and be that way. Because we got to have, see, the chiller grills absolutely have to be facing each other. If not, it just won't look right. All right, so before we make sure everything is closed and tight, want to make sure that these are going to line up. Most important, we're going to make sure that these work. So we're going to hook up the power supply, and we're just going to test everything real quick. We got to do the same thing with the starboard side, just to make sure the power is getting there. Throw the switch, Mr. Scott. And if we did it right, we've got port and we've got starboard. So what we got to do is we're going to have the Bussard collector. They're going to have these little clear domes that are going to go on the inside, and they're going to go right in here like that. See what I'm doing? I hope the camera picks it up. What I'm doing is I'm actually putting black on the ribs. See, it's ever so subtle, but those fan lines will be there. So put that aside and let that dry. Now I'm going to do the other one, the Bussard collector. Hopefully you guys can see that. Okay, so that's all set. I think what I want to do now is we're going to think about wiring. So each nacelle, all right, each Bussard collector is going to have one of the throbbing LEDs. It's kind of like the flickering candle look. I think that's going to look really cool. And that's going to go right in the center. And what we're going to do is we're going to glue we'll glue this into place. All right, so we got the wires stripped. So what we need to do is this is going to go over here, but I got to put the we're going to put them right. See how we need to put them in the center, and this is going to go over it like that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put the Bussard collector over these. All right. And we're going to make sure that this isn't going to interfere at closing up the other half under the nacelle. So that's pretty good right there. As you can see, when it's facing head on, it's going to be centered. All right, why don't we go ahead, we'll just do the same thing for the other side now. Yeah. So that's nice and solid. And now we're going to have both of the Bussard collectors where they're going to be lit. Again, we're going to have these on them. Just like that. I think that's going to look really good. In regards, I think now we need to start to address the end caps. So when it comes to the end caps, I don't know if you can see that, we have the pilot. So my thought is to drill in these little openings, these little holes, and then run fiber optics through. I think that would look really cool. The only problem is they might be too small. So let me try to, we're going to use an experimental one. See, these are they're pretty thick. All right. Now what I want to do, if it's going to work, ideally, we're going to run fiber optic cable through it. This might just work. All right, let me take the end. We're going to put it up against the light. You know what? Let me try to do it with pin light. So this is going to go up against the light like that, and hopefully you guys can see. Doesn't that look wild? So this is going to take a while. Now that I know it works, let's put the light back on. And we're going to do each one. There. And we got the first one in. Well, first one drilled. There. Hopefully you guys can see all the holes are drilled out. And what we got to do now is we're going to pass the fiber optics through. All right, this is going to take a little while. We're going to cut them through. We're going to put them through. And what I want to do is I'm going to try to bundle them on the other side. Yeah, we're going to go through a lot of fiber optic this way. That's the first row. Looks like I need the bottom row. That looks like 7, but we don't know for sure until we light them all up and make sure we got all the holes filled. So let's cut 7 more. Okay. So unofficially, as far as I can see, they're all done. So what I want to do, I want to make sure they're all kind of even. And if there are any loose ones, see how that looks? So we won't know if we got them all until we do the, until we cut them, we glue them, and make sure everything is in place. But doesn't that look cool? This is going to look really cool. Picture all of the lights coming out of the back of the nacelle cap. So what we got to do is we got to figure. So it's going to be right about there. So we can cut them around there, and I'll show you guys what we got to do. But we got to do right now, I want to do the other side, and I want to get the other side out of the way. Okay, so let's give you guys an update. We got a little bit of paint. We did a little bit of the touch up because after I took the clamps off for the end caps, it was a little bit of a gap that I had to fix. So I put a little bit of putty, and then I clamped the ends to let it dry. And what I did was I masked it off, and I spritzed it with the primer, and finally I gave it a coat with the finish coat, the pearl white. So at this point, we're ready to take off the masks. So let's go around. And you can see we're going to touch up the gold, but what I wanted to do is get the section that has the putty nice and clear and clean. We get that painted. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually touch up the gold sections, because you can see they actually. Okay, so that's a little bit better. Now everything is going to match. So also what I want to show you guys, what I did was I did the rings in gold around the Sensidome. So that's going to be all set. We can hook that up to the secondary hull. And we've got the secondary hull all set to go. That's going to be the next phase that we're going to do. But when it comes to the nacelles, so we just did this section. So let's take off the mask. I hope it doesn't take off the markings. All right, so that looks good. There, that looks a little bit better. We want the paint to match. So what we need to do now is we're going to use a little bit of super glue. And we're actually going to put the coolers on. And we got the instructions I had wanted to do from the original series. So we're going to take parts 21. So hopefully you guys can see how cool that looks. Now we got the ones that are going to go on the inner parts now. So those would be 22 there. So I didn't glue them yet. I wanted to make sure that they were going to be into position. And there's a spot here that we got to touch up, but that's okay. We'll touch that up. But for the parts now, for the gold parts, those are in the little coolers, or the little cooling radiators. So what I want to show you guys now is, you remember we had done the Bussard Collectors. We had done them in orange. So what we need to do is to get these ready, and we had put the the latex on. So we need to peel it off nice and gentle. So we'll clean this section up a little bit. But see how the orange now is showing through? There. And we're going to actually glue these. These are going to go into this part right here, just like that. We might have to put a little bit of finishing touch up. You can see how this is going to be. This piece over here is going to run along the seam. So now we're going to do the same thing for the other one. Now keep in mind, I haven't glued everything together yet. I just want to fit it together just to make sure that it's going to fit. And then what we can do is we can go ahead and glue it, and there's a couple of areas with the paint that I'm going to need to touch up as well. So I just want to show you guys. See, we got the coolers on, and we have the end caps. We've got the Bussard Collectors in place, and I think what I want to do now is we can go ahead and we can actually trim off the fiber optic cable. So let's go ahead and start to snip these. And again, we got to trim a lot more down, but I think it's going to be easier to trim it when it's lit up. And we still got to wash it and clean off some of the putty, but hopefully you guys can see how it's going to look. And I think we're going to do the same thing. We're going to need to light it up, but we still have to clean it up. And remember, we still have to do some of the touch up for this. But now this is what we're going to do now, is we're going to actually make sure it works. And let's put it on. So what I'm going to do is we're going to put the lights out, get it nice and dark, and let's take a look. So hopefully you guys can see the Bussard Collectors. And let's take a look at the back. Hopefully you guys can see the back. And the saucer, again, I had done the, instead of putting them copper, I put them gold around the sensor dome. So this is going to be kind of like the way she's going to look. So my friends, thank you so much for watching, and in the next video we're going to bring it all together. We're going to do the secondary hull. All these little parts and things that I need to touch up with the paint will be done, and we're going to be ready to bring the whole ship together. So until then, my friends, thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you soon.